Let's get into it.
Episode discussion.
All right, season 2, episode 18, Susan Strong.
Yeah, this is the introduction of Susan Strong.
Mm-hmm.
She's have you been familiarized with her character yet?
No, I hadn't.
She's got a pretty important plot line towards the end. I mean, almost everyone does in this show. But yeah, her introduction in this episode, it seems a little bit random, but there's a lot of foreshadowing, especially with like some of Finn's conversation with Princess Bubblegum in the beginning about him being the only human. I think this is the first time the show acknowledges that he's kind of this weirdo and that he's a regular old human in the land of Ooo.
Yeah, and there's not he hasn't come across any in all of his adventures. Like, that's pretty significant.
Yeah, and I like how Princess Bubblegum gets all awkward about making him think about it.
Yeah. It also made me think about what Princess Bubblegum is. And when she talked about Uncle Gumball, I was like, oh,
yes.
Yeah, huh.
Right, yeah. So this is also some powerful foreshadowing with Princess Bubblegum's character because I think this is also maybe one of the first times it's directly acknowledged that you can eat anything and anyone in the Candy Kingdom.
Yes.
That it's all just literally edible candy.
That was some great trivia I read online, too. I was like, all right.
And yeah, Uncle Gumbald is mentioned for the first time, I think. And that is a weird name drop because his character doesn't come in until way later. And it's really kind of weird about who that guy is and his relationship to what candy people are and stuff. But yeah, it's a lot of weird foreshadowing in this episode. Yeah,
I kind of think we talked about it with the early appearance of Gunter in the first episode we did, and I kind of like I'm interested to know if they knew where they were going or if they just kind of set up these things, like what their process is, because they might just want to start setting up these foreshadowing things and be like, we'll figure it out later. Or if we mention it now, it gives us some runway and things to come back to.
Yeah, it seems very off the cuff, and it's by the time they bring these things back, it's so many seasons and years later. It would have been extremely intricate to have planned all of that in advance.
Yeah. What's interesting too is that we did another episode with the lemon grabs, and that too had a similar plot where they go help out these people and they're like, you should come to Candy Kingdom. And then that puts Candy Kingdom in immediate peril because they invite people back there.
Yes.
And both times Jake is like, are you sure you want to do that, man?
It seems like the Candy Kingdom is always being attacked, which I don't know why. There's not a lot of like truly evil antagonists in this show, and yet they're always in trouble.
Well, sorry, I'm eating my poke. I do hear you. I think it's just because of the vulnerability and that they are candy and everyone wants to eat candy. I don't know. I'm trying not to go too deep into the symbolism. I re-listened to episode 1 and was like, okay, so let's before we release it, let's keep it down. But there's something to be said about candy and what it represents in this episode. One of my favorite parts of the episode is that they bring Susan up out of the hatch, and bring her into the world. They show her grass, which I thought was funny that she was afraid of grass, because I definitely think I would be afraid of grass too if I had never felt it in my entire life. Grass is weird, and dirt and the bugs and everything.
I guess, is it weirder than asphalt? Underground sewer systems?
Well, if that's all you knew and you're just used to like asphalt concrete, and then you get up there and it's squishy and moving and green, it would be like, what is this? I've even felt that coming out of the city, and I hadn't like run around in grass for a while, and then like taking my shoes off and walk through grass like for the first time in months and months, and I was like, oh man, this is cool. I feel Susan on that one. But they then they start teaching her about things, and then they have a campfire.
I love that scene.
Me too. That was one of the most enjoyable scenes we've seen yet.
That's quintessential Rebecca Sugar.
Yeah. Yeah.
And actually the song that Finn sings is very proto Steven Universe, I think. The style of like a, 13-year-old boy singing to ukulele accompaniment is all over Steven Universe. And actually, I started hearing like a lot of the same music theory kind of thoughts that I have when I listen to the Steven Universe songs. There's this really very identifiable Rebecca Sugar moment where they go to the relative minor chord with a secondary dominant and with like the chromatic passing tone. And it's like her very signature kind of tonality. And I wonder if the ukulele is set up in a way that
it like calls for that sort of chord choice.
Yeah, those kind of chromatic passing notes. I haven't played ukulele in a really long time, so I kind of forget how the voicings influence.
Me neither. I was thinking about getting a cheap one when I moved to Austin, so maybe now's the time and get inside.
Yeah, because I know that's her instrument.
I was ukulele. Jake's playing guitar, but it sounded like ukulele, right?
Yeah. Well, maybe it's like a big ukulele, and he's just a smaller dog. He's also playing viola too.
I loved
Jake is a
that.
pretty musical dude.
It was great hearing him and seeing him play that, and just with the vibe of the setting and the sunlight going down. It's all orange and everything. It was just so nice.
And that little friendly beaver.
Yeah.
Great scene.
Great scene. And I also loved, I love marshmallows, man. That is, if I didn't know marshmallows fell under the candy umbrella, I thought they were kind of outside of it. But now that they're under the candy umbrella, that's a top candy for me. I love them.
Man, I've never really been a marshmallow kind of guy.
Oh, okay.
But I tried the Rockstar marshmallow flavor.
Whoa. What?
And yeah, it's I think it's a Rockstar X-Durance, which has like more caffeine and 0 calories. And it's very saccharine, soda tasting, super sweet, marshmallowy, but it's also got this weird, like mild, just sort of flying through the clouds kind of vibe to it.
Yeah. That's what marshmallow's all about.
Yeah, it's not readily available in the convenience stores that I am around now, but if I ever have the opportunity, I definitely go for the Rockstar marshmallow flavor. I don't know why. I don't even really like it. It's just a weird kind of experience.
Yeah. Oh, I'm all about that. Okay, I'll keep my eyes peeled, especially when I do the road trip next weekend. We're gonna need some caffeine, man.
Yeah. That'd be a good road trip drink for sure.
Yeah. But I love them, and just I have such fond memories, like everyone, of roasting marshmallows around a campfire. So I thought that was like a really cool way to introduce candy to Susan Strong, was through marshmallows. Like, they're soft, they're not scary, they're not confusing, like you're not afraid to bite into one of them. What was interesting that I noticed was they introduced the concept of candy through marshmallows, and then the way that Susan and all the other people of her squad are finally defeated is by the marshmallows.
Yes.
That full circleness was great.
Yeah, I think it's I don't know if those marshmallows are like characters that show up every game, but it was Tom Kenny voicing one of them, and it kind of reminded me of his voice for Squanchy from Rick and Morty.
I've seen Squanchy. I can't recall his voice.
It's the season 2 finale of Rick and Morty where Squanchy just plows headlong into battle.
Yeah,
it seemed like a very similar or thematically resonant moment for me.
Totally. So they, just to keep the plot line going. So after she tastes candy, Susan Strong, Finn is like, we should go to the Candy Kingdom, and Jake is like, I think she likes candy a little too much, and she has a gloriously weird freak out about candy, and her eyes are all big,
like the twinkles.
Yeah,
everything gets all.
There's a lot of twinkling eyes in this episode.
Yeah,
which was great.
Like the little candy piece with the scary shadow. Like she's all twinkly, but her shadow's scary.
Oh, it's so great. So they bring Susan there. They have a nice dinner, it would seem, with Princess Bubblegum. And as they're leaving, she's like, hey, Finn, like, where's all the candy you were talking about? And then Susan sees Peppermint Butler, tries to eat him. And then Finn's like, cool it. have some sidewalk brittle, and she loves it. And she's like, cool, what I'm going to do is get all my friends and we're going to come back and eat the entire Candy Kingdom. Yeah. And they're like, no. And she's like, okay, I won't eat the red striped man, but everybody else.
This is our first viewing of Peppermint Butler.
Yeah, I'm interested in him. I really like what he's about, I think. I don't know much about him.
He is definitely the most demonic character in this show.
Really?
Yeah. He is friends with death.
Really?
Like the character Death shows up and Peppermint Butler is homies with him.
Wow, I can't wait to see and learn more about Peppermint Butler. Holy shit.
Yeah, he's like a practicing occultist.
Wow. And it's still trusted through all of this by Princess Bubblegum. She's like, cool, that's just your thing. Do that.
I don't know how much of his occulting Princess Bubblegum is actually aware of. Because there are definitely episodes where he tries to use dark magic to like help people and he tries to keep it a secret. But I know that one of the upcoming HBO Max specials is going to be centered on him. And because he sort of gets de-aged, and I think it's going to be about him going to black magic school to like learn how to be a master of the occult all over again.
Oh, that sounds great.
Yes.
Maybe we should, when those come out, we should do one of those on like release weekend.
The first one came out.
Okay, well, shows what I know.
It's about BMO.
Did you watch it?
Yeah.
Was it good?
It's good. It's
Is it different? Is it more adults or?
No, it's just longer, and it's basically about a whole new set of characters. It's sort of a standalone thing, and BMO is really the only link to the actual Adventure Time timeline.
Interesting. Okay, cool. Well, let's check it out. So anyway, so then Susan Strong's going to get all of the people, the humans at this point, we presume they are, out from underground to come back and eat all the candy, and she's kind of teaching them what she's picked up from Finn and Jake. And back at the Candy Kingdom, they're trying to get everybody ready and like look intimidating, and they're just not intimidating at all. They're so cute. They try to scare him with shadows, since it was set up earlier in the episode that shadows are scary. However, they have learned that they are just shadows, and that does not work. And
the line is they've learned how to learn.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
It's like such an underlying problem with society right now.
Yes.
People don't know how to learn.
Lay it on me. Yeah, you know what I was just listening to was Bill Gates was on Dax Shepard's podcast, which I tune in and out of. Dax can be a bit much for me, although if he has the right guest, it's awesome. And Dax, if you want to do this podcast, I would love to have you on.
Yeah.
But he was talking to Bill Gates, and they were talking about the process of learning, and he was talking about how like adults don't want to learn because of that essential discomfort. He was saying something like that, where it's like you have to get into a spot where you literally don't know what you're reading about or what you're doing, and that sort of area of discomfort most adults avoid. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, people always want to talk about, who's smart and who's not, or who the intellectual elite is and all this stuff. And there's not really a real measure of intelligence. What IQ is, and this seems to get lost, is that it's a measure of how quickly people learn, how easily people can learn. So like an IQ of 100 means that you just learn things at the average rate. Mm-hmm. And if you have an IQ of 120, it means you learn things 20% faster or more easily.
Right. And that doesn't necessarily indicate that you are smarter or know more or retain more facts.
Yeah.
It's just the speed. So if you have a low IQ, you could still learn more than somebody with a 150. And I think, now this is something Malcolm Gladwell has probably written about in his career, but there's definitely probably people who have incredibly high IQs and then they don't have to work as hard, and because learning is easier for them. And then there's probably I bet there's some sort of scale that I'm just making this up, but like, if you have a 150 versus like a 120, maybe the 120 does better because they have to work harder to get to where the 150s are.
Sure. I mean, yeah, because there's not really a way to quantify intelligence on its own. Like, you have to think about, well, what is being accomplished with the intelligence, and if someone with a lower IQ produces a better result, whether or not they were working harder, they got it.
Yeah.
End result.
They got it. Yeah. I mean, yeah. People don't learn to learn. I mean, I'm learning right now. I'm doing a new job at work. At Atlantic, previously I was in the touring department, and now I'm in the digital marketing, internet marketing department, which a lot of related skill set. I know the people that are teaching me, and I'm working with a lot of the same people, but there's just new things that I never thought about before or don't know. And I'm feeling that sort of discomfort that comes along with learning. And I'm trying to get into it. I understand why people don't avoid it, because it's uncomfortable and it makes you feel bad and it feels like you're risking something. But at the end of the day, that's the only way you grow.
Yeah, I keep trying to learn as much as possible. I've been pretty good about keeping up with music theory stuff.
Oh, really?
Since I've been in quarantine.
That's cool. What have you been exploring?
Well, it's super easy to find stuff online now. YouTube is so great. So there's a bunch of YouTubers that just do music theory, that just watch a couple of those videos every morning. I have a couple books that I'm trying to read through also.
Very cool.
I think I've talked about that guy, Adam Neely.
Yeah.
He's got a great YouTube channel.
Oh, that's so cool. I've been writing music, and I've been feeling the urge of like, okay, I need to learn some new harmonic tricks. Because you get your bag of tools, and at some point you're like, all right, I did that thing again. Like, you know what I mean? And you're like, I need to freshen this up. I need a little twists and turns. You and I are both, I think, on that page where we love surprising chord changes and harmonic choices.
Right. Yeah, and there's a lot to be said of the whole state of everything that's happening right now, where it makes it difficult to actually be productive. Locked in quarantine with civil unrest everywhere. No one's obligated to come out of this any better, but it's been a long time, and I really am trying to add to my skill set by the time we get out of this.
I love it, dude. I think that's why we're friends. We're both seekers. We're trying to learn more and do new things, like a podcast about Adventure Time.
Yeah, we're just like Finn and Jake.
Just like Finn and Jake. Oh man. So anyway, then to finish off the summary, the marshmallows come out. Now I wish the marshmallows would come back, because the decision of the marshmallows, when Finn tells all the candy to retreat and hide and get the hell out of there because the humans are going to come eat them, and the marshmallows are like, we never say no to a scrap, and then run at them, and they get on fire. And I was just like, that spirit and tenacity in marshmallows, I really didn't see coming, but it's fitting for a marshmallow because they can survive it, and they know they can. Like, when they scare them off because the marshmallows are on fire, and then the fire gets put out and they're black, and then they take off their black skin, and they're like, yeah, we're just gooey. We're gonna be gooey for a while, but we'll be fine in the long run. I don't know. I just love that so much. I love that character trait for a marshmallow.
Yeah, it throws into question a lot of what makes these candy people alive, or mortal or immortal, or
it does.
But it's a throwaway moment, which I love that there's so many implications and so many moments that could be really heavy if you examined it, but they don't allow time for that. It's just they just hand them like these charred old marshmallow skins and then run off all happy.
Yeah, it's great. And then so as the marshmallows are the heroes of the episode,
yeah, I guess
you.
Go Team Marshmallow.
Yeah. And then all the people are on fire now because of like the mayhem, and their hats, they're all wearing hats, come off, and it's revealed that on their heads they are fish. Basically, there's gills and like fins coming off of the hats or of their heads, and Finn is like, oh my gosh, they aren't humans. And the whole reason he was protecting them, and he felt like this is the first time he was ever meeting humans. That's why he was so invested. But a key moment is that we do not see Suzanne Strong without her hat. So we don't really know at this point if she is indeed a human or one of these fish people.
Yeah, it's left as a mystery. And I don't think they ever really examine it that closely until the Susan Strong storyline that happens in like season 9. But I think it's sort of agreed upon at that state that she's not a fish person, but she's also not the same kind of human that Finn is if she is in that genre.
Interesting. Yeah. He sings a whole song and he says that she lights up his heart, but it doesn't seem like romantic sort of love. It feels like way more of a sense of belonging, like sibling love.
Yeah. He's getting all heavy and weird, like from the beginning of the episode, but in a good way at that point.
Yeah. It's cool. I'm excited to see how humans play into it, because on the last episode, Simon and Marcy, it's a flashback to 1,000 years, presumably to like present day. Sorry, it's 996 years ago. And you see the gooey people, and this is where the show is starting to imply that there was some great, zombie apocalypse, nuclear war that happened. And I was wondering, thinking about that, that's obviously from season 5, but could these fish people also be a product of said nuclear holocaust? Like where they fused with a person and a fish. Suzanne Strong looks really big, sort of like a Hulk thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about the fish people's origins so much. But yeah, I mean, it does, that all does get its own storyline eventually, and it winds up kind of being ancillary to the main plot of what's going on in Ooo. It's just like, hey, here's what happened to the humans, and this matters to Finn, but it doesn't really affect anyone else in the larger Adventure Time story.
Right, and as you said, as the show goes on, you learn what minor characters Finn and Jake really play in all this.
Yeah.
But
it's a cool storyline. It's one of those like 7 or 8 parters that are all they aired them like all in a week or 2 or something originally. Season 9, I think.
I'm excited to do those. I want to do them. I know we're going random, but I really want to do those as like a chunk, like a special. We'll strategize on that off air.
Yeah. I mean, there's a few of those.
Yeah.
I don't know what the best one to focus on might be.
We'll see. Hey, can we play Did You See the Snail?
Let's play Did You See the Snail? Nick, did you see the snail?
No. Eric, did you see the snail?
No.
Well, that was Did You See the Snail? Don't forget to send an email if you did find the snail to didyousee@gmail.com.
Yeah, please let us know. I was looking for it really hard. I really tried.
Yeah, I forgot to try again. I really got to remember. I get so overtaken by everything that's happening. I just forget.
Yeah. Well, okay, so I think I'm falling into the habit of watching these episodes twice.
Me too.
We do the podcast.
Me too.
It's easy because they're short. The first episode, I'll just watch the episode. And then the second episode, maybe I'll have a couple things that I noticed on the first pass that I wanted to zero in on, and I will actively hunt for the snail. I really tried, and I'm even kind of thinking about, this scene, like this shot, looks kind of busy. Like there's a lot of minor characters like walking around.
Sure.
Like this would be the kind of shot that the snail would be in, and still, like I can't find it. I didn't see it.
Damn. Well, on either first or second viewing, did you have any favorite quotes? I had a couple.
I can't remember any. Go for it.
Quotes, moments. Jake saying we can rule them like gods, angry gods. That was great.
I love how random Jake gets.
Yeah. It's like all of a sudden it's like, yeah, he's dark. Jake also says at the end, we're all just wild animals, right?
Yeah, brother.
I love that. Especially in this world where no one's the same species, let alone the same race. You really just got to have some supreme tolerance.
Yeah.
He said to Susan Strong, "You got grass blood all over your face."
Yes, that was a good one.
Great one.
Grass blood.
I love the dancing bug. That was just a great little Adventure Time thing.
Yeah. We're like, you think this is the moment where, they're trying to show this character that there's nothing to be afraid of.
Mm-hmm.
And you think this is the moment like, oh, this could be a relapse for that character's learning process where she gets really scared because like there's something is dangerous over there. But no, it's just dancing and having a good time.
Oh, that's great. I got a couple pieces of trivia.
All right, let's hear it.
All right. So we talked about how this is when we learned that everything in Candy Kingdom, including the roads and the buildings, are candy. Very cool one. Here's another. You're gonna love this, Eric. Is that apparently there's 2 references to Lost in the episode, mainly the hatch.
The hatch.
The hatch. And I wish I had gone back and looked, but the title card animation apparently references Lost in some way. And this is corroborated because another great...
Yes, it does. Oh, I see it.
Oh,
they're looking down the
hatch. And this is also corroborated in the fact that they released the official storyboard art for this episode, and in there it says something like about the hatch, relating it to Lost and being like a Lost style pan across the screen. And that's like one of the coolest parts of trivia that I found was before this episode came out, they released the original storyboard that Adam Muto and Rebecca Sugar made for Susan Strong. And it's up for free on Scribd. We should put that in the show notes.
That's cool. Yeah,
it's cool. It says on there like the network pitch, and it has a spot on the 30th of July 2010. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's interesting to look at. You mentioned that too. I think it was on the first or second episode about how we should do some sort of deep dive episode into how they make the show, because I am very interested in that, in the timelines and the workload. And
yeah, I wanna buy the book that goes into that a little bit more. I think it's called The Art of Ooo.
Nice.
I have the one for Steven Universe, and it's a really, really good read. They really take you through the process step by step on how they put together all the episodes and how complicated it is. And it was cool also hearing how they do the music for these cartoons, which is I'm not familiar with the composer that does Adventure Time, but the composers that do Steven Universe are really good, and they do a lot of that chiptune stuff, and they had a lot of cool information how they put together the episodes. And then I just listened to that Jeff Rosenstock podcast you sent me a link to. Who was the guy that does that?
It was called, I have it right here, the podcast is 101 Part-Time Jobs Podcast, which is when this dude, he was in a band, I forget which band it was. It looks like Soho Radio. Oh yeah, people loved that band, I remember. Soho Radio and the iPaper. And he talks to like independent musicians and artists and stuff about their day jobs, like what day jobs they've had and continue to have during their artistic career.
Yeah, that episode with Jeff was really cool. He talked about how he's working on Craig of the Creek.
Yeah.
Man, I would love to get a gig like that, write music for a cartoon.
Yeah.
It seems like it's a lot of work.
A lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot. I mean, Craig of the Creek is like all music, wall to wall. I was thinking about that watching Adventure Time today, and you could tell this one, which you mentioned when we watched the other season too, is that it feels early. Like in the way Princess Bubblegum is speaking, like her character is not the same as when we just saw her last in the Lemon Grab episode, which happened a couple seasons later. The animation's a little rougher. And there was a music cue, I think, when they were coming out of the hatch that was interesting to me. That raised my eyebrows. Like, cool music cue, but just a little different style than they would have in a later season.
Yeah, I did notice. What's also always really, really strange is the title card music.
Yeah,
it's always so incongruent with everything else that's happening in the episode. Mm-hmm. And I noticed this one. It actually stuck out at me. Like, wow, that was some bizarre title screen intro, 5 or 6 seconds of music there.
Yeah. Someone must have thought about that at some point, where a lot of it's dramatic and weird, and like it like sets a mood for you to like going into the episode. I feel like of okay, I'm watching now. Like,
yeah, I should familiarize myself more with what's her name is Casey something. I should check out more of their work.
Yeah, I love looking up whoever did music for shows and looking into how they did it or what their other projects are. It's a very unique skill. Like, it's different than songwriting, for sure. It seems like if you got one of these, if you got an Adventure Time or a really cool show, and you're like, oh, hell yeah, like I get to do this thing in there, like it'd be great. But to just be ad hoc going to all these different vibes, and that's a harder situation. Right?
On the interview with Jeff, I think he said he was working on something that took like 15 hours that day. Yeah. Like he'll work for like a typical work day usually. But sometimes if it takes longer, it just takes longer. And he had like a 15-hour session.
Yeah, I mean,
for Craig of the Creek music.
I can imagine it, because you could probably get into a zone and you're like, wait, this isn't working. I have to figure out what the arrangement's going to be and everything. Like, those roadblocks, you can't just like put them off for a week and come back to it. It's like you probably at that pace you have to do a lot. I'm excited. One show that I'm excited for. Have you heard about Moonbase 8? It's the new show going to be starring Tim Heidecker, Fred Armisen, and John C. Reilly as astronauts. Okay,
I think I saw a promo photo for that.
Yeah, and it's directed and co-written by Jonathan Kreisel, who rules. He's done like every crazy show: Tim and Eric, Awesome Show, Tom Goes to the Mayor, Portlandia, SNL, Baskets, and he's doing it. And then Stephen Droz from the Flaming Lips apparently is doing music, and he's one of my heroes, and is like a guy who seems like he'd be perfect to do like music like that for a show. And it's always spacey shit, so I'm excited to hear what that'll be like. I've been checking out Joe Wong has a podcast. He is a writer or composer. He did Midnight Gospel. He did all the music for that.
Right on. I like that music.
Yeah, me too. And I was hearing it, and I was like, I gotta go find out who this is. And this guy Joe Wong, and he apparently was a drummer who played in a lot of rock punk type bands. He loved Fugazi, went to Berkeley, and he has a podcast where he mainly interviews drummers, but then goes off, course and interviews all sorts of people, including Duncan Trussell, which is a good episode. But yeah, he's got a lot. They put up the Midnight Gospel score onto Spotify, and I was enjoying it.
Right on.
He did Master of None too, and Russian Doll. So he's got the good work.
So do you want to pick an episode for next week?
Yes, let's do it.
What are we gonna watch next week? What are we gonna watch? It's the episode generator.
Okay, we got episode 81, which is season 4, episode 3, Web Weirdos.
All right, it looks like Marceline's in this one.
I don't remember what that episode might be, but it's probably pretty good. Most episodes of Adventure Time are.
I'm into it. Okay, I'm reading about it a little bit. This looks interesting, entertaining. Let's do it.
All right, cool. So next week, season 4, episode 3, Web Weirdos.
I'll talk to you then. Goodbye, good people of the internet.
Peace out, y'all.
Woo.
Peace out, y'all.
Peace out, y'all.
Peace out, y'all.
Like, subscribe.